Good evening from Sasebo, Japan. My name is Philip Hennett, and I'm a Community College Leadership Program doctoral student at Morgan State University. And today I'm going to be sharing with you my presentation on reclaiming the American dream again, a look at the community college across two eras. Now, this would be an excellent presentation for those of you who are like myself doing research on the community college, or it would also be pretty good for someone who just wants to learn something new about the community college. So let's go ahead and get into this. Well, let's go ahead and start with the American dream. What is the American dream? Well, basically, it's a set of ideals in which freedom includes the opportunity for prosperity and success, and an upward social mobility achieved through hard work. Now, I know the American dream is kind of loaded, and as we'll see on this next. Now, let's take a look at what some people might see as the American dream. Uh, a lot of people look at the house, the boat, the car, the money. Um, I don't want to knock those people. Some people might see that as the American dream. Uh, for me, I see it as, kind of what this diagram here talks about happiness, satisfaction, security. Um, I guess what's most important is the American dream is whatever your ideal is for a happy life. Now, no matter what it may be, the house, the car, the security, um, education is going to play a key role in leading to that happiness, that American dream. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here. This is one of my favorite um, passages out of the 21st Century Commission report because it's so powerful. And basically, what they state is the connection between education and American prosperity is powerful. Now, think about that for a moment, and the role the community college plays in higher education. Um, and when you consider the gap, the income gap between education and the American dream we just talked about, um, it kind of reinforces the importance that the community college plays in American society and democratization as a whole, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The American Dream is in peril. That is right out of the again. That's right out of the 21st Century Commission report. And basically, all of us here know that the economy is down. People are out of work. The cost of education is going up. Um, Median income down 7%. Um, the world has passed us academically. We'll actually talk about that a little bit later. Half of all Americans have either passed into poverty or are now classified as low income. Think about that. I'm going to say that again. Half of all Americans have either passed into poverty or are now classified as low income. I mean, wow. That that kind of adds to the burden that the community college has. And as expected, the 21st Century Commission picked up on that, and a lot of the solutions and a lot of the ideas they have are based off of these grim reports. For the first time, younger generations will be less educated than older generations, and that's kind of scary because when I look at my own parents, both of my parents, they were high school graduates. They did not attend the local community college, and like previous generations, myself and my siblings, we went on to college. And when I read this kind of scares me. I mean, is this going to impact my children? Is it going to impact my neighbor's children? If this trend continues, what is the community college going to look like in 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Uh, which is why the American dream is in peril when you look at it in that way. And we should be looking very closely at what the commission is recommending, which we're going to talk about here. The community college is often called on in times of crisis, and so the 21st Century Commission. This isn't the first time this has happened. The Truman Commission back in 1947 is a great example of that. And actually should be the blueprint, or I hope so, and I imagine that the 21st Century Commission has done quite a bit of research on the Truman Commission because it was so successful in meeting all of their goals and kind of creating the successful story of the community college that we see today, and we'll talk about that. A system on the precipice. And here's another passage I'd like to cover out of the 21st Century Commission report. The American dream is imperiled. Upward mobility. The contract between one generation of Americans and the next is under siege. Once unchallenged, this nation's primacy in college graduation rates has already been overtaken by determined competitors from the Russian Federation, South Korea, Canada, Japan, and elsewhere. Now, I live in Japan, and I can tell you that, you know, I can't speak too much on their college system, but I can tell you that the secondary schools here are doing math that I didn't even do into college. My 12-year-old son, he is in the 6th grade this year. He's doing math that I did my senior year in high school. The standard here is plain higher. And it kind of makes you stop to wonder, what happened along the way. Now, this doesn't play so much into the community college, but it worries me. What does that mean for the students that we're going to be sending to the community college in the United States? Are they going to be ready? Are they going to be ready for the classes that we're going to be giving them in the community college, their lower level credits? Or are we going to be looking at more remedial, a larger remedial role in the future? Just things to consider. Okay, part one. We're going to go ahead and cover the 21st Century Commission report. And the Commission believes that the unique and powerful contribution of community college lies in preserving access while also emphasizing student success. Now, that's a powerful statement when you think about that. Now, when the Commission states maintaining access, what they're talking about is open admissions. Community colleges have a long tradition of open admission, taking whoever walks through the door, and that's controversial. The community college is aware of that, but later in the report, the commission states that the community college is going to be steadfast behind that. That goes way back into the equal opportunity that the community college believes in providing everyone with an equal opportunity towards higher education. I also prescribe to that belief. But it's good to know that the commission is checking in and reaffirming that. Okay, reclaiming the American dream. The commission plans on tackling this report in their overall strategy in 2 phases, and they talk about it here. In phase 1, the 21st Century Initiative, they went on a listening tour and they just got information from diverse groups and stakeholders from across the country. And they covered student success, volunteer framework of accountability, strategies for dealing with budget constraints, Budget constraints are, I mean, in the economy we're living in right now. Um, we're going to look at some of the numbers here in one of the slides ahead. Um, but a lot of the money is coming from the states, and the states are probably hurting the worst right now in this economy. So what does that mean for the community college? Um, it means there's going to be a lots of gives and takes, probably more takes. Um, so something to look at. Big ideas for the future of community college. To be honest, the community college is in need for big ideas. The landscape of higher education is changing with online education. Um, uh, just so many different aspects for colleges to think about these days. Um, what the American Association of Community Colleges can do for members. That partnership is getting more and more important, especially with the research and data capability of the association. Um, Hopefully that role will grow going forward, especially as more and more community colleges take cuts. And some of the other goals included in Phase 1 were increasing focus and building momentum for the community college completion agenda and identifying the association's role in that effort, promoting the contributions and challenges of community colleges among the public policymakers and business leaders, building support for accuracy and accountability in monitoring community college performance. Now, Phase 2 is basically the presentation of the final report, which we're going to examine here next. Now, I'd like to point out some of the data that was gleaned in the report. And you'll see I put these red arrows here to kind of point out some of the ones that really highlight the role of the community college. When you look at the student demographics here, you'll see that there's actually more women than men enrolled in community college. Now, when you look back in 1947 at the Truman Commission report, this was actually one of the concerns with equal opportunity. Uh, you know, the community college in America as a whole has come a long way. And when you look across the gender ethnicity lines here, you see a lot of diversity in the community college. Diversity that you don't see in traditional four-year institutions. Another one here. First generation to attend college is 42%. Wow. Um, that number is very impressive. What it means is a big chunk of people who are the first generation of attending college, they're going to community colleges. They're coming to us. It's humbling. It's fascinating, and it's a reminder of the responsibility that the community college plays in our communities. Um, Now below that here, when you look at um, percent who are community college students, and you'll see I put wow here. 44% of all U.S. undergraduates are in community colleges. That's another wow. Uh, Again, the community college is playing a huge role in educating the future of America. And then lastly here, I highlighted the average annual tuition and fees. And this is recent data, 2011, 2012. Um, when you compare it to the four-year college, public in-state, um, it, it's amazing. $2,963 average annual tuition and fees. Now, across the board, community college tuition is going up, but when you compare it to four-year colleges, I mean, you can't even compare it. No wonder why so many people are going to community colleges. And it's the way that community colleges are designed to be. We're trying to attract people. It's not really about making the money. We're trying to get people into the community colleges to educate. It's about the people. It's about the community. I wish our entire system worked that way. All right, moving on. It's time to think anew. This is a dialogue straight out of the report. Um, and again, the connection between education and American prosperity is direct and powerful. I wanted to say that again. When you look at figure one here, and you'll see that I put the red arrow here um, on a 38% that's projected for percentage of the workforce by educational attainment, and these are high school graduates here. Look at the competition that high school graduates are getting now in comparison to 1973. I mean, what that basically means is there's more competition and less opportunity. We need, or the community college needs, or well, not needs, is playing a big role in educating these people. So it's important not only to get them in there to be first time students, first time in their generation. It's important to get them in, keep them in, and hopefully have them leave with their degree and send them on to the 4-year institution. Now, a generation ago, nearly three-quarters of employed Americans could get by with high school diploma or less. A certificate, an associate degree, a bachelor degree, a post baccalaureate degree was a requirement for employment for only about a quarter of Americans. But of course, those proportions are in the process of being reversed. By 2007, 59% of employed Americans needed a post secondary credential or degree, a figure that is expected to approach two-thirds of all employed Americans by 2018. Can the nation meet this challenge? And you'll see here I put the time is now. I mean, this is stuff that the community college, our communities, we're going to have to start tackling ASAP. Okay. Now I went straight to the recommendations because there's quite a few. There's actually seven, and they're very detailed. Um, Redesign students' educational experiences. When I see this and I think back to the Truman Commission report, I kind of see the Truman Commission report to be broad, social, overcoming inequality. A role the community college still plays, but it's come a long way since 1947. Now with the 28th Century Commission, it seems to me more driven by redesigning the community college, um, uh, having it meet these new challenges that we have with the population that we're going to look at here. Okay, so recommendation one: increase completion rates of students earning community college credentials. Um, anyone familiar with the community college knows why that's recommendation number one. The community college, we get students in the classroom, um, and they're there to improve their lives, to get that degree, to get out there and make some more money. But a lot of them are not equipped with the tools they need to be successful in college, and we talked about this a little bit earlier when I was talking about the education in Japan. Um, a lot of our secondary schools are just plain old failing our students. By the time the community college gets them, they're not ready, which is why the remedial role, again, which is another controversial role that the community college plays, but I think essential. Um, and we're going to have to link those two goals in order to get our students through our programs. All right, recommendation 2: dramatically improve college readiness by 2020. Reduce by half the numbers of students entering college unprepared for rigorous college level work, and double the number of students who complete the developmental education programs and progress to successfully complete or successful completion of related freshman level courses. And that plays right back into recommendation 1. Um, uh, implementation strategies kind of talk a little bit about it. It's all about redesigning developmental education fundamentally and creating new evidence based pathways that accelerate students' progress. This is something that's definitely not going to be done overnight, but it's something that the community college, if they're not already thinking about it, and seeing the tide that's headed our way, to start thinking about these things. Okay, recommendation 3: close the American skills gaps by sharply focusing career and technical education on preparing students with the knowledge and skills required for existing and future jobs in regional and global economies. Um, I really like talking about this because as someone who lives in Japan, as someone who's been around the world, um, and gotten a pretty good taste of academic systems in different countries, I can tell you that it's just a difference in thinking. For example, I teach ESL here in Japan, and I get a lot of students in there. For example, I have one student who got a degree in chemical engineering from a prestigious school here in Japan. But the economy here is so locked down that she works, right now, she works as a waitress. She's worked there for 10 years and has no expectation of ever getting back in her field. But that doesn't deter her. She's still pursuing school, she's still pursuing education. And, where a lot of people in the States might have, given up, um, or not had that hunger and kind of accepted life for what it was, this student, didn't do that. And it's kind of a snapshot of what you see in Japan. And it's why their economy, why their society just kind of keeps on trucking, through these hard times. And it's a lesson that, quite frankly, a lot of us Americans should look at and try to emulate. Uh, Perhaps some research on a Japanese community college is in order, provided the proper translation, because that'd be quite an undertaking. Okay, moving on. Recommendation 4: refocus the community college mission and redefine institutional roles to meet 21st century education and employment needs. Now, this one, this one is pretty sweeping when you say it. I mean, refocus the mission. Um, the mission of the Truman Commission was really about, at the end of the day, it was about equal opportunity, and we'll talk about that in a second. And like I mentioned earlier, of course, while equal opportunity is a very key role and will remain a key role of the community college, we've also come a long way, a very long way. And I think that if the Truman Commission could see what the community college is today, I think they'd be satisfied, and they think that that the goals that they put forth were met largely. Um, so that's why I believe that this 21st century commission report is really institutional. It's about changing the institution, the internal workings, and hear the goals um, in this next phase of the community college. And us leaders that are up and coming in the community college, we should take heed because a new order is definitely on the way, and it's going to be it's not going to be the same community college that we grew up knowing. It's going to be very different by the time we have to pass the torch on. Okay, recommendation 5: invest in support structures to serve multiple community college through collaboration among institutions and with partners in philanthropy, government, and the private sector. Um, uh, this one is interesting to me, and some of the implementation strategies include create partnerships or consortia for the development and support of student data systems, data analytics, educational diagnostics, learning management systems, institutional research, and professional development. I mean, when you hear that, it it sounds like community colleges are going to be they're going to look a lot more like four-year institutions in their apparatus. I mean, this is some pretty heavy stuff, and it's going to take a few years to get a lot of this implemented. But one of the strengths of the community college, and one of the things that attract me to it so much is the ability to change. And while there'll always be natural resistance to change, nothing really compares to the community college in academia when it comes to change. All right. Recommendation 6: target public and private investment strategically to create new incentives for all institutions of education and their students, and to support community college efforts to reclaim the American dream. Now, this is about advocacy in community involvement, which is, what the community college is all about. But considering uh, you know, the public sector funding issues, state and federal, a lot of support for the community college is going to need to be corporate. It's going to need to be philanthropy. Um, and the community college is going to have to look at this a lot closer. Okay, the last recommendation 7: implement policies and practices that promote rigor, transparency, and accountability for results in community colleges. Um, Again, this is very sweeping. I mean, when you consider all of the different community colleges and the different missions, this to me seems to be an effort to kind of bring the community college into focus. Now, while all of the community colleges are offering different things, policies and practices, could definitely benefit from being, aligned. Ensuring that credentials represent real knowledge and skills by implementing the degree qualifications profile. Those are certain things that I hope all community colleges are doing, and I'm sure most do. But um, perhaps policy is needed to line all of that up. All right, part 2, the Truman Commission report. Um, I've kind of been referring to this, and I put a time of crisis here because that was actually mentioned in the Truman Commission report, and it kind of mirrors what the 21st Century Commission report when they mention a dream in peril. Um, and here again, we see back in 1947 when the United States, coming out of World War II, was facing an academic crisis. And let's go ahead and talk about that. This is not the first time the community colleges face change in the face of a changing world. Um, These are some of the things that the Truman Commission found in 1947. Community college system ill prepared for educational demand. At the time, the community college hadn't spread to the different cities and towns that we see today. You know, today you can drive in any direction 100 miles and you'll run into a community college. Back then, the system hadn't grown to meet the need, and it was a problem. Post World War II era spawned new industries that demanded an educated workforce. Um, there's lots of research and lots of talk about the industries spawned out of World War II. I mean, the airline industry was born out of it. Um, uh, Weapons industry, the industrial complex that so many people talk about. It was all born out of World War II. And these workers needed for this industry or all the different industries, they need to be educated. And the community college, as we see today, when we talked earlier about the 43% of first time college goers going to the community college, um, back then it was the same thing. And uh, the community college was not prepared at the time to meet that need. And then, probably most importantly, the United States was not yet socially ready for true democratization. What does that mean? Um, well, they wanted these people educated. They wanted this workforce. They needed people. But were we yet prepared to provide equal opportunity for blacks, for women, for people of different religious backgrounds? No, we weren't. But the community college played a key role in bringing that all about. The Commission stressed the following points: barriers to equal opportunity, such as economic barriers, restricted curriculum, racial and religious barriers, as we just talked about, accessibility, which we talked about. They weren't accessible. There wasn't that many community colleges. They were the ones that were in existence at the time were not equipped to deal with the new generation of learners. Then, of course, as we talked about, overall democratization, which in a large part we see today, but we didn't back then. Now, of course, the Truman Commission was a success. The community college met the challenge. It became the diverse, multi-pronged institution we see today. Um, and with that said, I hope and pray that the 21st Century Commission has really looked at the Truman Commission and saw all the things that they did right. The mission is very different. Don't get me wrong. It's more institutional now, less social now, less a movement now. Um, and as we all know, institutions don't move as fast. But I think this is it. Everything that the commission wants to do is feasible. Um, and I think that future community college leaders equipped with this knowledge and equipped with the research that's going to be put into these ideas is going to be a key to bring it all about. Can the 21st Century Commission meet its goals? In short, I believe yes. But of course, challenges remain, as we just talked about. Like the Truman Commission, goals are ambitious. They're very ambitious, but um, with proper leadership, implementation, and follow through, I absolutely believe that the 21st Century Commission will meet its goals, and perhaps 50 years from now, 60 years from now, I hope that researchers will look back on it and say that we met all the goals. And of course, leadership is going to be vital in all of that, and that's why we're here as future community college leaders. And I'd like to open the floor for any questions. Of course, you'll have to email those to me. And I'd also like to thank Dr. GK and to my fellow cohort members for an excellent first step towards the doctorate in education. And thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the next presentation.